In this next video, we're going to be doing a demonstration on how you can get a value with JavaScript from a virtual field, add it to an actual field, and store that new result in the records field. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using the residence team table and the residence table. Now, this demonstration is also going to show you how you can use a view to join the information from two tables into one and create a report on that. What I'm going to create is a report that the user can filter by residence, click on a team within that residence, and update the competition points awarded. The first step in doing that is I'm going to go into Caspio and I'm going to create my view. The name I'm going to give this view is just going to be res team view. I'm going to use the tables residence and the team table. Two tables at this stage. Caspio allows you to create a view with as many tables as you want, as long as there's a relationship between those tables so that the joins can happen. I'm just going to use the residence and the team. Because I've provided two tables in this view, it's given me the option to choose how do I want to create these joins. You can go and you can choose on what keys you want to join by, how you want to join them, if you want to include all records of one or all records of the other. I'm not going to change it. I'm happy with an inner join that will show me all the records where a residence contains teams. What that means is if I have 5 residences and only 2 of those residences have teams associated with it, it's only going to show me the 2 residences and the 2 teams. In other courses you've done inner joins, outer joins, left outer joins, right outer joins. You can do all that with Caspio, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to show you how to create an inner join with a view. I want to edit the competition points of this report. So I'm going to make the teams table editable, because team is where my competition points and participation points are. I'm going to click next. I don't want to include all the fields because these are all the fields that are going to be in my view. You can if you want to, but for this example, I'm just going to include the fields that I want to use or that are relevant to me. And you can notice here that it first shows the table name with a dot and then the field within the table. So I'm going to include the residence ID, the residence name so that I can view the names of the residences. Then within the team table, I want to include the team ID, the team name, the participation points, and the competition points. I'm not putting any criteria in this view because I want to view all the criteria that satisfy that are common in these two tables. Once I'm done, I can click next or finished. If I go and view my view, I will see the results that I'm hoping show all the reses with all the teams in it. You can see over here, it's got only 2 of my residences have teams associated. Canterbury House has 2, and Jan Smuts House has 2. Let's just give this set these competition points to something that we can work with. Let's set them all back to 0. Okay, we've got our view. The next step is to create a report that we can view our data. I'm going to be creating a tabular report. I like creating tabular reports because they allow me to do the most with it. They allow me to, if I really wanted to, edit in line, insert in line, modify, delete a field, and many more. So let's start off with a tabular report. The source that I'm going to use for this tabular report is my res team view that I've just created. I'm going to give it I'll just give it a name of res team view report. How do I want to allow the users to filter this? I'm just going to allow the default Caspio provided search filter. I want to filter on residence ID. I'm just going to give it a different name, residence. in the next part, I want to show what fields do I want to include. Sorry, let me just go back a step. I want to put the residence res name rather. Okay. Okay, what fields do I want to include in this result? I want to include the res name, the team name, participation, and competition points. Let's just give them some better names. Lastly, the competition points. I can't preview what it's going to look like at this stage. If I go a bit more forward, I want to use the default details page, and let's add in this is specifically for a team, so I'm just going to add the team name, the participation points, and the competition points. I'll just give these fields a better name. Okay, we can preview this report now to see what it's going to look like. I'm not going to search by any residence, I just want to show all of them. I've got my residence, my team name, participation, competition points. It's showing the views, the data from the view that I created. Now I've got each type, for each one it adds so Canterbury House and the team. Then I've got another line as Canterbury House, Blizzard Blue team, and so on. Now this is sufficient. This report is suitable. It's showing us what we want, but we want to make it a bit more visually appealing. So let's go and group this report by residence so that we can easily navigate and find the residence we want, and then find the teams within that. So if we go back a few steps to where we can configure the results page field, we want to group it by residence name. So we click on residence name, enable data grouping by this field, and we're going to let's leave it as standard result set and view what it's going to look like. Okay, so you see it now it's looking a lot easier to find the residence. It's got each residence and the teams that are below that. Once we click on the details page, we get this nice update form where we can see the team name, the participation points, and the competition points. Now you just notice here that at the moment we can't update anything, and that's because all our fields are display only. If we took our competition points, for example, in our details page, and we set it to text field, we preview this now, we will be able to see that we can change the competition points here as needed. We click update and our competition points are changed there. That now is a suitable way to add the new points together. But what if, for example, you got existing competition points here, and we've got 123 competition points, and the team gets another 71 competition points. You can do that in your head. You can with confidence add those points together, but we want to remove the reliance on the user's ability to get the competition points correct, and we just want to provide a place for the user to enter in the new points, add those new points to the existing points, store that in our record, and then provide the user to add more points. This removes the reliance on the user's addition and leaves it up to the system, which is 100% accurate as long as your code works. So let's implement that. Before I start doing anything, just for easier way of debugging, I want to go and I want to tell Caspio to stay on the same form once the update button is clicked. And what this does is it means that I don't have to navigate all the way back into to show you the results. So if I change it to 20, I click update, it stayed on the same form, and there's 20. Okay, so in our details page, there's a few things that we're going to be doing now in this page. The first thing we want to do is we want to provide a field so that the user can type in the value or the value of the new points that they want to add to this team. And we do that through a virtual field. We'll give the field a name of V for virtual, and we'll call it new points. Okay, let's see what's happening there. Okay, we've got our virtual field here, new points. Now if we add 5 to this, we would like 5 to be added to 20 and the value in competition points to become 25. Now you'll notice once I click update, nothing happens. That result just gets discarded. That's because a virtual field does not have any ties to any fields in a table, so that value is not being saved. What we want to do now is we want to get that value with JavaScript, we want to add it to 20, and then we want to save the value of 25 or whatever value is the result into the competition points field. For this demonstration, I'm going to leave the competition points as editable, and you'll see why in a few steps later why that field is going to be not set to display only. But for now, let's leave it as 20 competition points in an editable field. Let's go back and write JavaScript code that captures the result in here. So if it's 10, captures the value 10 and adds it to 20. We do that, we're going to add an HTML block at the bottom of our elements. In our source is where we're going to start writing the code. Alright, so I've got this template. This is the standard template. I've used this in every single JavaScript example I've done. The names of the functions may have changed, but the layout is exactly the same. Remember this template. This is a every time you want to write JavaScript in the HTML blocks for validation or for extending the functionality of submission forms, I'm sure you're going to use this template all the time. What I have done is I've added this line to my template because this is another line that you're going to use 99% of the time when you're doing validation or updating reports. This line, if you go and you read the community forum on JavaScript, you'll notice that regardless of whether you're working with an update form or a submission form, you're still going to be calling the onSubmit button. You'll hear the buttons showing update, but according to Caspio, the onSubmit function is called regardless of whether it's a submission form or an update form. So I've copied this line. When I click update, I want to call my function. I always start off with making sure that I can get into my function by showing an alert with the value 1. I can put whatever I want here, as long as it just shows me something that I can see that my JavaScript is working. We go into our HTML block, we copy the text and we paste it in here. Okay, I click update, there's my alert that's working. Now I can go and I can actually implement what the functionality that I want to. Okay, so what are we going to require? We're going to require a variable to store the competition points. So let's make that variable. We'll leave it at 0 for the time being. We're going to need a variable to store our new points. I will change these values from 0 to something else once I'm done. We're also going to need a variable to store our results. And then we don't need any more variables, those 3 are fine. So what are we going to do? The first thing we want to do is we want to actually get the competition points. So we want to get the value of 20 from the competition points field. With our developer console open up, we can view and inspect that element to see the name of it. The name is a long name, but it shows you here, and you can now copy this name into this field. So we want to first get the document, get the element by ID. The ID is edit record because this is a update form. Now the name of that field, SA underscore team underscore competition points awarded. Let's double check that. Edit record SA underscore team underscore competition points awarded. Okay, and we want to get the value from that. Now, as I've always done, let's make sure that I've typed the name correctly and that I'm actually getting the points. We will show that value in an alert. Once we click update, we expect the value 20 to be shown in an alert, and it shows us 20. Alright. Next step we want to do is we want to get, so if the user types in 5 over here, we want to get the value 5 and store it in our new points variable. So, like we do, we get the document, get the element by ID. The name of this, in this situation, because it's a virtual field, you remember there's a different naming convention for virtual fields. This is our virtual field 1, so it's called CB param virtual 1. Let's make sure we're getting that correctly. Okay, I'm going to put the value 5 in here, click update, nothing's happening. That's alright, let's see why that's not happening. If we go and we look at our console, is there any errors? Alert is not defined. Let's try and check this. Let's change that. Okay, so our alert shows an object HTML input element. Now that, from my experience, is because the alert is showing me the correct thing. So I assigned 2 new points. I got the element by ID, and now it's showing that element. And this is an example of I've got the element correctly, but I haven't told it that I want the value from within that field. I left out the dot value of this new points. We update our code. Value 5, we've got our value now. Okay, so at this point we're able to get the competition points over here. We're able to get the new points that get added into here. Now we want to add them to our results. So our results are going to be competition points plus new points. Let's see what our result is before we add it to our record. Okay, so new points is 5, competition points is 20. I'm expecting the value 25 to be shown in an alert. The value that's shown is 205. Now what's happening in this case is, because I've said before many times that when you get a value from a field, that value is stored in text, regardless whether it's in the back end, it's an integer, it's a boolean. When you're getting it through JavaScript, that value is coming as text value. And so the reason why it's showing 205 and not 25 is because we're adding the value 20 as a string and the value 5 as a string. what JavaScript does is it just takes two strings. When you're adding two strings together, it just takes them and joins them, which means that we're adding the string value 20 and the string value 5 and getting a value of 205 as a string. To correct that, we have to pass each of the values we get as integers. We're going to pass that value as an integer. We're going to pass this value as an integer as well. And if everything goes right, we'll now get to see the value 25 in our preview, in our alert. Okay, we put 5 here. Update, we've got 25. That's perfect. Because we passed them as integers now, we were able to do simple integer addition and get the value of 25. Last thing we want to do in terms of changing records or getting fields is we want to store the results in our competition points here, so that it can actually be saved and stored in the database. The way we do that is we have to get the element that we want to work with first. In this case, it's the competition points awarded. Okay, what do we want to do? We want to work with the value, but in this case, we're not getting the value, we want to assign the value. So we want to assign the value with our variable results. Notice throughout all of this, our competition points has never changed. It stayed as 20. This time, if our team gets 2 new points, we update that. That value over there is changed. It's stored it in the database now because it's actually added it to the competition points field. If we go back, you'll see now our competition points are 22. Alright, so our JavaScript is working by adding the 2 points together. It's saving it into the database. However, the last thing that we need to do is we still have provided the user with the ability of changing the competition points over here, as well as adding new records. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to have something that looks more like this participation points, where the current competition points are just displayed. The new points can be added, and when the new points are added, the display value is updated. As I've said in other lectures and other demonstrations, you can't change the value of a hidden field. So or a display only field. If our field is display only, there's going to be problems with updating it. Our competition points now we can't edit, but if we go and add 1 point, JavaScript cannot access that display only element, which is fine. So how do we solve this? Well, the one way to do it is we can create another virtual field that simply shows the value of the competition points. So, in order to make the competition points editable again, I set it to hidden. Okay, before I continue, let's have a view of what's happening. Notice over here, competition points are set to 24. When I click View Details, my competition points are set to hidden. I can still add new points, so this team gets 10 points. 10 plus 24, we expect competition points to be 34 now. We click Update, the points get taken away. If we go back, we see that our competition points are in fact getting updated. But as I say, we want to still show the competition points in this details page. So let's go back and create another virtual field. So we've got our virtual field. There, we'll give it a name. Okay, if we preview what's happening, competition points of 34. our virtual competition points are just a text box at the moment, and it's not actually showing us any information. So let's go back, set it to display only. But what we also want to do now is when this details page gets loaded, we want to go and onload. We want to receive a value from the actual data source field, competition points awarded. This means that when the details page is loaded, the value in the database that's stored in the competition points field will be transferred and shown in this virtual field too. If we go and review that, notice our competition points are 34. We click view details. Our virtual competition points field is now showing the value of 34. If we add 2 points to this, we expect our competition points to be 36, and because we're staying on the same form, the page is getting refreshed and the value of 36 is being pulled through into our virtual competition points field. Alright, that pretty much concludes the demonstration on how to do that. I'm not going to do the participation points because that's just a repetition of what we've done here. Add some more JavaScript to get the competition points information, and add your virtual fields as needed. But let's leave it at that.